A good Vach Rabbi Isai, a good day Rabbi Isai, good Erev Shabbos Rabbi Isai, good morning Rabbi Isai. Live from Oxnard, California. Home to the very famous Herzog restaurant, one of the best. I was actually zechus to be there once and eat there once, but not today. We're here just figuring out how to get back to Chicago. Instead of being in Los Angeles, we chose Oxnard. Don't ask questions. So we're on the water over here, Givaldic in the Airbnb, from house Airbnb. If somebody wants to know, drop me a line. Just a few mails. We have the emails. Today is a 3-shear day, and a tremendous yishkach to Mark Ashkenazi for being on with me the entire day. It took many hours because we had issues with the internet, etc. And now we're at the 3rd shear of the day, and it's almost Shabbos, and he's still on with us. Shkoyach Gadol Bo'id Remar. Shalom Bracha Rebelli. This is from Binyomin G from Lakewood, New Jersey. I've been learning Daf Yomi with you on and off since Masechet Subas. I went away the past few days with my family. Every day, actually night, because there's no time during the day. I did not go to sleep until I learned the Daf Yishtabach Shemo. First of all, Ha'ara Ktana, I'm not saying there's no time during the day. Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. If you wanted to make time, you probably could have made time. Especially right before you leave the house in the morning, before everybody gets up, you get up a little bit earlier than everybody. There usually is time. You don't realize it, there is. I did not go to sleep until I learned the Daf Yishtabach Shemo. The only reason that I didn't fall off the wagon to this Masechta while I was away is because you always mentioned during your shiurim that the beauty of the Daf is that even when we're on vacation or not at home, we still learn the Daf because it's about the consistency. It's about the Yomi. As I was in my hotel room at night, laying in bed, I could not go to sleep before I learned the Daf since your words were ringing in my ears. Good. I didn't let you fall asleep. I like that. Yishkoyach. Thank you so much, Rebelli and your team, for all your hard work. You're helping Klal Yisrael one Daf at a time. Keep it up. We love you. Your Talmud, Binyomin G, Lakewood, New Jersey. Milad Yahavireyan, something like that. Thank you for your chizik trip to LA. This is a physician. A doctor is writing a beautiful email. Hi, my name is Yosef. Jay, we'll call him. I just wanted to thank you for your chizik trip to LA. Your trip came at the most appropriate time. Every year by Tisha B'Av, I tend to feel demoralized about any hope for our generation. How can we be the ones to bring Mashiach when so many stronger, greater, more deserving generations were not zechus to have Mashiach? I think of how divided we are as people and how every generation we have another sect, halavai, of Judaism added. Every generation is something new, no? How could such a divided people repair the sinas chinam that led to the churban? Good kasha. The answer came to me as I was sitting there in the link koil, smiling from ear to ear. As I finally got to watch a live share, Reb Eli and the MDY team family, I cannot think of many other programs. Please, so many Yidden so close to Yiddishkeit and Torah the way MDY has. There were Yidden from all walks of life and all backgrounds coming to learn Torah. We have people like Peretz Chaim and Yossi dedicating so much of their time and effort. And Mark Ashkenazi, he forgot to say it. I got to stick it in. And Mark Ashkenazi. And the editors that nobody knows about. Yosef Biliak and Ariel and Kobe, who spend literally sometimes 3-4 in the morning. Yoshi, well, it was 3 o'clock by me. I don't know. He spent to make the charts for this daf. He was up. He left the office an hour before Shkia. So a lot of people put a lot of time, hard work and time into this. I was amazed at how you look so much. They don't know. Oh, we have people like Peretz Chaim. They give us time and effort to help people they don't know and may never meet. Correct. They may never meet all these 25, 30,000 people. And not to forget Rebbe himself. I was amazed at how you took so much time to meet the lines and Talmidim, talking with each and like all this while you're probably exhausted from all the traveling. I can only speak for myself, but MDY and the DAF have been a lifeline for me. A lifeline. I come from a traditional family. We have tradition to do this and that, and this tradition was that only the rabbis do Gemara. So it took convincing to be able to attend even a year yeshiva after high school. After returning to LA and starting college, it only got more difficult to have set learning schedule and eventually almost non-existent by the time I finished medical school and residency. I could feel my connection to Torah and Judaism slipping. Finally, while in North Carolina for my oral boards, I committed to starting Daf Yomi. First with an in-person shir, and then, as my work schedule got busier with MDY, I've begun to rebuild that connection. So much so that my 5-year-old daughter will check to see if I've done that day's daf. You hear this? His child is asking to see if he did the daf. And finally, he says, Rabbi, say, check this out, it's on the screen. The cure to sinas chinam is ahavas chinam. And in my eyes, there's no greater ahavat chinam than bringing all of our brothers close to the Torah and Hashem. Thank you, Reb Eli. Thank you, Yossi. Thank you to Yoshi. Thank you to the MDY team, family, that makes all of this possible. Ahavas chinam. Your Talmud since brachas Daf Beis, just kidding. Gittin Daf Tes Vav. Yosef. Yahavarian, Havarian, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Thank you very much for the email. And Rabbi Isai, we have to do do we have any more? Yeah. The Koil sponsored by Binyomin Rosenfeld Batzlach in business. The Mesech sponsored for saving speedy return for all the hostages. You know what? I didn't do the Koil of the month good enough. The Koil of the month sponsored by Binyomin Rosenfeld. Batzlach in business. Parnas HaChodesh, Lenishma Zechrya ben Moshe, Lenishma Zechrya bas Yosef. Parnas HaChodesh, Yedidya Pereira, thank you for your tefillos בחסדי Hashem. Yehudit Yehуда ben Michael was granted bail to his home in the UK. Baruch Hashem. He's on bail. Binyomin Rosenfeld, with gratitude to Reb Biderman, Reb Eli, Gedale Fenster for his podcast, and Michael Safdie for dailybetochen.com. The art of the month for zechus for rebellion, the whole MDY staff to continue to make Torah so enjoyable for so many. Shkoyach. Rabbi said brand new perek, brand new mesechta, starting Daf Samach Aleph, which spells Eli Stefansky. Another gewaldige perek. How do I know? Because I learned it 22 times. And I don't remember one word of it. But I can tell you it's very, very gishmak. Hamoichers habayis. Today, when you sell real estate, everything's divided perfectly. There's lot lines, there's surveyors, there's all sorts of things. And in Eretz Yisrael, they do it very interestingly. I don't think they do it here in America. I haven't really seen it. They take a highlighter and they take the contract and they highlight the area that they want to sell. And the time of the Gemara is a little bit more complicated. And some things might surprise you. Yitzia might be this, right over here. As the Gemara is going to explain, it's one of the pshatim in the Gemara. You see that little attachment, addendum to the house, a little attachment, Yitzia. That's one pshat. We'll see in the Gemara. Even though this thing opens up into, today it might be a garage, no, but not a garage, like an addition. Call it an addition, okay? Addition to the house. It opens up into the house. It's not included in the sale. And not the storage room that's attached to the house. And not the roof. It doesn't include the roof. If it has a wall around its 10 tefachim, it's not included. It's something by itself. If it has a doorway with the shape of a door leading to it, so it's not included in the house, then it won't be included in the sale. Says Gemara Ma'yitzio. What does the word Yitzia mean? So over here in Bavel, they call it an apsa. Apsa is an attached room, as you see on the side. It's not included in the sale. Rabbi Yosef Omer Batka. Rabbi Yosef says it's more like this sunroom, like many, many windows, which is very different than an apsa, in a way, in many ways, in many window ways. Batka Chalila. If you say that this room is not included in the house, so certainly this funny looking sunroom is not included in the house. It's not part of the house, it doesn't look like the house. But if you say that this is not included in the house, the ones with the windows, but this, since it's very much like the house and it serves the same function as the house, it's just an addition to the house. Your kids sleep there, so it's part of the house. This thing that we're talking about has 3 names, this addition. One is called Yitzia, one is Tzela, and one is Ta. Tzela is like a rib. You got to say the Maisa with Adam Rishon. Kushborcha asked Adam Rishon, Adam, do you want a wife? He said, sure. But how much is it going to cost me? So Hashem said, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. So he said, and what could I get for a rib? Now, it's not really a rib. It's more like it could be a tail. I don't think there's any shita that says it's a rib, but it's a tzela. Says the Gemara, Tony. Yeah, so we have 3 names. Yitzia, where do we see the word Yitzia? The bottom Yitzia is 5. What is going on there? Rabbi said we have a beautiful little sugya here. We're done with the sugya, but to explain the sugya, we have a bunch of charts. It goes like this. This is a picture of the Beis Hamikdash. On the left side, you have the Zechus, and then next to the Zechus, you have the Azara with the Mizbeach and everything. Next to that, you have the Heichal. And in the all the way to the right of the whole chart, in the middle, center right, is the there's a pen. There's a highlighter. How about a highlighter? Oh, thank you. There's a highlighter. So right over here is the Kodesh HaKodashim. We're talking about this area right here. You see it's in red. This area. There's 5 chambers over here, 5 rooms. The Gemara says there's 1 room over here, even though this picture shows 3. That might be a different bias than what we're talking about. And there's 5 over here. So, total of 11 times 3 floors is 33. Now, what's interesting is that they didn't want to make any holes in the walls of the Heichal. It's not covered. It's not appropriate for the Heichal. So if I don't want to make a wall, I don't want to make a hole in the wall. So how do I put a beam into an existing wall? So what I have to do is I have to create a wall that has a ledge on it. You're trying to see if this works. Oh. So let's first take a look at the total. Well, this is not a good picture. No, not this one. So as you can see over here, Yoshi worked really hard on this. This is, forget the fact that the wall goes a little bit, that's a little bit of a mistake. But the gold part is the outside of the wall. Okay? We're looking from the right, going into the left side of the Heichal. So basically, as you can see, the wall was like a step, like a staircase. And like this, you could place flooring on top of each step. As the steps go in, the flooring is wider. So to show that, let's start from the bottom and we'll build ourselves up. Here you see they built the wall and they put 1 floor on it. So the width of that room underneath the floor is 5. Now we just added a floor, but the floor is indented. It's sitting on top of a step. So the second floor is wider than the first floor. The second floor is 6 amma wide, where the first floor is only 5. And finally, the top floor, the ceiling of the top floor is sitting on a ledge. So the top floor, the inside is 7 ammas. Givaldik. Okay, so says the Gemara. So if you didn't understand that, it's not important. It's just a point that it says that the Yitzia was 5, meaning the bottom floor was 5. There's 33 rooms of these rooms. So for that, we could go to this, show this picture. And as you can see, when it comes to the second floor, each room was 6 ammas wide by 6 ammas deep. You take 1 measuring stick, which is 6 ammas long, and you can measure. It's one stick by one stick. And each stick is 6 amas. Or we could learn from here. The wall of the koisa of the hechel is 6, and the compartment is 6. This whole idea that we said in the mission that when I sell you a house, I don't sell you the attached chamber, the attached room. That's only if it's something mechubed, it's 4 amas by 4 amas, so it's not included in the house. 8 feet by 8 feet. But if it's anything less, then because it's so small, it's bottled to the house and it's sold together with the house. What? You need 4 amas, you need 8 amas. So if I'm selling you a bar that's less than 8 amas, it should be included in the house. What bar in the world is 8 amas? A bar in the dus is not included. Even though I included the measurements of this pit. In those days, they didn't have water coming out of the sink, so they stored water, in a pit, in a bar. A dus is the same thing; it just has a lining of brick. I was in a beautiful house very, very close to Beis Yisrael, like Mesharim, like behind Kikar Shabbos area. Very, very nice house. It was a Chassidish guy. I don't remember his name. It was many years ago. I was on a trip doing Kiruv. It was called the Mentor's Mission from Or Sameach. And a Chassid was very, very kind and let us into his house. Beautiful lemon trees in the front, all sorts of things. And he found like a water cistern underneath his kitchen from, hundreds of years ago. And he showed it to us. And he turned it into a gorgeous mikvah. Underneath the floor, all of a sudden they opened up during construction. They see this massive cistern that you put water in there and you have water for the rest of the year. So he turned it into a mikvah because today it's not necessary anymore. You just use it you can just use the sink. This not I remember he was a very nice guy. He had a letter from the Chofetz Chaim, letters from all sorts of Gedalim hanging on his art that was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then he made a speech, and he said in the speech, this is the combination to my house, this is the code to my alarm, use my house whenever you want. Like he's a very, very large type of guy. Not large this way, large over here. Zog the Gemara, what if a bar doesn't have 4 amas? Then it's included in the house. And if it does, in order not to be included in the sale, it has to be huge. So what's the connection? One is for water, and one is for sleeping. So don't mix up. I'm selling you something for sleeping purposes. It doesn't include water. But when I sell you a house, I sell you the additions that I made to the house because it's all for one purpose, all for sleeping purposes. If it's very large, it's not included because it has its own chashivas. And if it doesn't have 4 amas, so it's not chashiv, it's not included in the house. And it doesn't include the storage in the house. Ask the Gemara, if an addition that's made for sleeping, for extra rooms, is not included in the sale, so certainly what's not included in the sale is a storage facility. It's certainly not included. Says the Gemara, I'm going to get to the guys in a second. Even though you included it in the measurements of the house, if somebody sells a house in an apartment building, I guess they had apartment buildings in those days. They have an apartment building, mamish like in Eretz Yisrael today. I'm selling you a dira. What does it include? Does it include all the apartments in the apartment building, or does it include one little dira out of 16 or 20? So in a very large apartment building, and you know what he included in the sale? He put the measurements, the outside measurements of the entire apartment building. So you think it includes all the apartments? No, there's something called Mitzarim. Here we go. Mitzarim. He was just giving you very generous measurements, but it doesn't include everything. So says the Gemara, this doesn't make sense. Now let's learn it now once well, and we're going to repeat the same sugya again as a freebie. Peichidami, what is the case? Simple question, simple answer, classic Gemara style. If human beings call a house, an apartment building, an apartment building, or let's say an apartment is an apartment and a building is a building, pshita ba'izabelin. So when the guy says I'm selling you an apartment, he meant one apartment, not the whole building. Biro lizabelin, not the whole building. Elo de lebir nami korelo ba'is. But if an apartment is also called an apartment building, or a building is called an apartment is called a building, kuli zabelin. So when he said I'm selling you an apartment, obviously he meant the whole building because that's what he dictated in the contract. He showed the entire building. Most people are normal. They call a building and an apartment an apartment. There are some weirdos, let's call them weirdos, for argument's sake, to make it more interesting. They slip with their language and they're very loose and they call buildings an apartment. And they mess up because of that. We have a whole sugya here. He's the type of guy that when he says, hey, I sold you an apartment, his wife starts screaming. It's not called an apartment, it's called a building. The kids would have this whole fight at the Shabbos table. But nevertheless, they keep on going with this kind of system. They talk like that. Maybe he sold him the whole building. Oh, there's a little trick here. You have to write in the contract. So let me just show you this. There's something called Yad Bal Hashtar Ala Tachtoin. Okay, so the one that has the burden of proof now rests on the guy that has the shtar. And since he didn't write in the shtar the proper language, it should have been written in the shtar, the buyer should have written that the guy didn't leave anything. In other words, he sold an entire apartment building. So Mela, and he didn't do that, it's his problem. In fact, I'm just thirsty because the sun is shining on me, kind of. It's very hot in here. I have to hydrate myself before I black out. Oh, and now we're going to have the whole sugi all over again. And then the Gemara is going to say, why do you need it twice? And the Gemara is going to say, very, very simple, it's zechus, and that's pretty much the day. So we can pick up pace here. So put your finger on it. We are 11 lines, 12 lines from the top, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 lines from the top. If somebody sells one field out of a very large valley, even though he indicated in the contract that he's selling him the entire valley, he was being very generous with his indication of the borders. If everybody is straight with the words, and they call a field, and a valley, so obviously he didn't sell him the whole entire valley, he only sold him one field. But obviously people sometimes call the entire valley, they call it a field. So when he sold them one field, and he actually indicated it in the contract, obviously he meant all the fields, like the entire apartment building. There are people who call a field and a valley. But some people get confused, or they don't care, or that's their minhag in their family, and they call a valley a field. I would think he sold an entire valley. He should have written in the document, I didn't leave anything behind, zero, and he didn't write it like that. Obviously, he didn't want to give him and sell him the entire valley. Why do I need a case of a valley, and why do I need a case of a building? When it comes to a house and a building, they have different functions. When I buy an apartment in a house, when I buy an apartment in a building, I'm buying an apartment. I have a small apartment. Like me, I own an apartment in a building. But when I sell you a building, I sell you much more than an apartment. I sell you a lobby, I sell you an elevator, I sell you, the boiler room, whatever it is. There's more to it. So you can't say it's the same function. They're different functions. One is an apartment and one is a building. A building comes with other usages. So you can't get mixed up with the two things. When it comes to a valley, they all serve one purpose. Every field is doing the same exact thing. There's no main field and not main field. Every field is to plow. So maybe it's all included in the sale. If I want to say a valley, because in a valley you can get confused, because every field looks the same. Where does my start? Where does my field end? So maybe that's why you got confused with the borders. But an apartment is very clear. Mine is apartment 9. That's it. Everybody, it's 9. I know which one it is. I'm not getting confused there. So how come I didn't say apartment 9? Because I sold you everything. And just a few more lines, and we will be finished for today, for Shabbos. So according to who, does this sound familiar to you? The Bashmuel. Not this name. This name should also sound familiar to you. That what? That Shmuel's daughter was kidnapped by the Goyim, and somebody violated her, and they had a child, but he became a ger. So because the pregnancy started when the father was not Kaddish, but by the time the child was born, he was a Kaddish. He became a Yid. So we don't mention the child by his father's name. We only use the mother's name. We call him Rav Mari, the son of the daughter of Shmuel, grandchild of Shmuel. Mishmei Dabai, this should give chizuk to a lot of people out there that have some sort of what's the lashon? Maybe a conflict with the yichus. I know a number of people that have issues with their yichus. Their parents did something inappropriate or whatever it is. And here you see that you could be the grandchild of Shmuel, still have a problem with the yichus. Your father was a terrible person at the time. Now he became a special person. But nevertheless, forget the father. He might have become a big tzaddik and a ger and everything, and we erase everything he did. But you yourself could become Rav Mari, who was brought down many times in Shas. He has many shtiklach Torah. He still became a huge Talmud Chacham. B'shmei dabai, hay man dem zavadele midi lecharei tzarich lemichtav lei lo yisharis bezvini len kodam en klum. Does this sound familiar? Yes, that's the sugi we just discussed. That according to Rav Nachman, a person is marchev his gvul. He's not very careful with the borders. And whatever's in the borders is not included. Unless he writes, I'm not leaving anything for myself. If he doesn't write that lashon, then there's a problem. And the buyer is going to have to prove his case, because the burden of proof falls on the Baal Ashtar in this case. Kiman, Kerev Nachman, Omarav Baravua, fits right in. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day.